It's Wednesday, June 21st. Welcome to CT Pulse on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Chaplinsky, joined this week by HAN's editorial director, John Kovach. We have a lot to talk about today, including a state representative throwing a stuffed rat at a reporter recently, Governor Malloy's contingency budget plan, and much more. But first, we're joined on the phone today by Eugene Driscoll, editor of the Valley Independent Sentinel, or valleyindy.org, to talk about the controversy over the past week surrounding Megyn Kelly's interview with Alex Jones of InfoWars. Now, that interview went forward despite a lot of protests, but it did not air on NBC Connecticut, and we're talking a little bit about that today. Eugene, so happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, I think.
Well, we'll see how it goes, right? Well, so, I think I speak for all of us, and I could be corrected if I'm wrong, but, Jones, who operates InfoWars, has claimed in the past that Sandy Hook shooting was a hoax, and the children and adults who were murdered were played by actors. Now, I think all of us agree, absolutely reprehensible and horrible, but I think the three of us might have some different opinions on whether or not this interview should have aired. Now, Eugene, I saw that you supported NBC's Connecticut's decision not to air it. Can you tell us a little bit about your thinking behind that?
Yeah, sure. Last week I shared on the Valley Indy Facebook page a story, I think from the Hartford Current, saying that some Sandy Hook parents were upset that the interview was coming. And I just shared it. It wasn't exactly local to our coverage area, but I thought it was of interest, so I shared it. And I was shocked and dismayed at some of the response in our comments. What happened was, I guess people who read InfoWars religiously somehow saw this post and started to copy and paste pure BS from InfoWars regarding the Sandy Hook shooting on our Facebook page. And these are people from Waterbury, far off lands like East Haven, people in Connecticut. One reader literally posted, if you want to find out the real truth about this, just search YouTube. Which I just, as a journalist, it's just shocking the level of ignorance there. And for InfoWars to be peddling this pure BS just makes me uncomfortable. So a couple of days later, I put a personal post on our Facebook page, which I never do, but, I got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I had a coworker at my former employer. Her daughter died in that shooting, and so Friday night at about 9:13 p.m., I said this shouldn't be on the air, and I applauded NBC 30 or whatever it is for standing up and being independent and saying, you know what, we're not going to air this. I think, and that was, of course, met with I just entered a rabbit hole and spent until Father's Day at 8 p.m. Arguing with people, and I was accused of being un-American, because we all know the way to support the First Amendment is to accuse others of being un-American. That is a good way to have a conversation. So my basic thing is, we're in the media business. The media is known for being jerks. When we have a chance not to be a jerk, when we have a chance not to report BS, let's not do it. I thought NBC Connecticut made the right decision. I would assume that the interview wasn't up to their standards because maybe they're not interested in spreading lies or interviewing liars. And so I supported that decision. NBC corporate had the right to do the interview and to air it, but I think NBC Connecticut had the right to say, nah, no thanks.
Now, I just want to read a little bit from NBC Connecticut's memo that they sent about this. They said, over the last few days, we've listened intently to Sandy Hook parents, our viewers, and importantly to you. We have considered the deep emotions from the wounds of that day that have yet to heal. And because those wounds are understandably still so raw, we have decided not to air this week's episode of Sunday Night with Megyn Kelly. And, I did watch the interview. And Megyn Kelly notes at the beginning that over the years, Alex Jones' YouTube channel racked up 1.3 billion views, millions of listeners, and she says the ear of our current president because on the campaign trail, President Donald Trump made time to do an interview with InfoWars, and he talked about, what a wonderful reputation Alex Jones had, basically fawned all over him in that interview. So, my personal feeling is, this interview should have aired on NBC Connecticut. I can understand the emotions, how horrible and horrendous. We were all, journalists that day when that shooting happened, and I can't remember anything worse, ever. But I just feel like kind of exposing him, since he has so many followers already, and calling him out on these different stories that are not true. I just felt there was something important to that. But John, what did you think?
I kind of feel the same way, Kate, and I understand where Eugene's coming from, and don't disagree, but I think sunlight is the best disinfectant, and I heard that over and over again from John Hetherington, who was a state representative that I covered when I was the editor in New Canaan. Just to get this out and maybe force him to defend these guys. What makes you say this? Put him on the spot, and maybe you can sway some of those people who are believing and are in the billions who have, watched InfoWars, and hopefully not billions who are buying into what's on that and this hoax, that maybe something can be exposed, and some of this fervor that he's built up by claiming he's the only one telling the truth can be brought down. Now, my problems with the interview, I don't like the timing. I don't like it being on Father's Day. Fathers buried children, and that should never happen. And that was not a hoax. And I also think that him leaking the telephone calls and emails and her saying, I'm not going to go Barbara Walters, I think at that point, if it was my decision, I might have killed the interview at that point when that came out. But my hope going forward was one that if the interview was done, it would expose what is under this belief, that there's this incorrect belief that it was a fraud. And number two, that it might sway some people back into reality. But I also think that the decision should be up to the viewer whether they watch it or not.
Sorry, Eugene, go ahead.
Well, I think there's a lot there. I mean, I think what troubles me, and maybe this is my personal bias, I love when InfoWars and Breitbart and on the other side, I guess, Huffington Post, on all these sites that are partisan, belittle mainstream media, because it's a falsehood. These sites are now mainstream.
Right.
So I think InfoWars is, in this case, was smarter than a Megyn Kelly or NBC. I don't think the ability, I mean, to say they're trying to expose them, to do that old-fashioned journalism with a big J. Hey, if we're talking about a new animal, a new breed, and I don't mean to get disgusting, but it's like trying to pick, when you argue with these guys, when you try to throw logic at them, it's like, it's just impossible. It's like trying to pull yourself out of quicksand. It's like trying to pick corn out of explosive diarrhea. It can't be done. And
that's the first time
and that's what you're getting into. That's what you're getting into here. And I would also just say that this is just my personal opinion, which I really shouldn't be giving, and I'll probably open myself up to the InfoWars wolves again. This is marketing. I think this is a marketing decision here. You know, Megyn Kelly is a new news personality who was brought over under, they paid her a lot of money, they made a big investment, they lured her away from Fox News where she had made a name for herself, and she's got a new show. I mean, this isn't, to me, it's not like, 60 Minutes back in the day and a Mike Wallace interview. I just think this is pure marketing, and I don't think this is the interview or the cause to wrap our journalism principles around, just in my opinion.
Sure. I think that's a great point. I think that is a great point. And I want to throw a question at you, because I think and thought from the beginning that this interview played into this. NBC, particularly MSNBC, being criticized as being overly liberal. Megyn Kelly coming over from Fox News, was this an attempt to gain some viewers a little farther right than NBC is used to getting? And I think that plays into marketing, which I think Eugene's absolutely right there, that it was in a big way.
Yeah, I think this is about money. You know, it's about getting viewers, and so they can charge a nice advertising rate, because we all know, the traditional networks aren't, nobody's watching Friends on NBC on a Thursday night anymore.
Right.
But do you think
so maybe Ethan Fry in the next room? My fellow reporter, Ethan Fry's in the next room, and he just keeps groaning. I don't know what's going on. Are you all right? I don't know if that's at me or you guys. It's really disturbing.
It's at me, but do you think this was an attempt to attract viewers that might be a little farther right and kind of make NBC, which has been criticized for being far too liberal by the right, to maybe make them look a little bit right as well as part of that marketing?
Is that a question to me? I'm sorry.
Yes, question to you.
Oh, yeah, I mean, maybe. I just think I don't give them that much credit. I think they just want as many eyeballs as possible. I don't care. I don't think they care necessarily, at least with this decision, and to bring Megyn Kelly on and to give her a show. It's all about infotainment, you know. It's all about to get us to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
To talk about her show, and to talk about, you know, an alleged whack job. I'll say alleged because Infowars has a lot more money than me, even though they're an alternative site and could probably put me out of business in 5 seconds.
But I think this kind of brings us to another question that comes up from time to time. Should a group of people who finds this interview offensive be able to decide whether or not it airs? I mean, there was this big push, don't air it. Some advertisers pulled out. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I kind of get frustrated every time the angry social media mob on any side of things comes out and gets to determine, you know, what happens, who gets fired. I mean, that gets a little frustrating to me, but I know it's the world we live in, but... you know. But
it is true, and I agree with your frustration.
Yeah.
Yeah, in again, my opinion, there's we get outraged over everything. Right. I mean, that is true. You know, there's stand-up comics telling jokes now are constantly in trouble, but in this case, to me, it just comes back to Sandy Hook happened, and you have a news site that says at times it did not. And is it a principled or ethical for us to repeat it? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Like this one's a little different. I'm okay with the outrage here, and I think I mean I don't remember the last time a local TV station stood for something. So I thought that was interesting. It made it seem more human.
That's true.
I didn't actually think there was any actual. Well, I won't even get into that, but I didn't realize that can happen. That there's independence on the local TV level. I found that sort of encouraging.
Yeah, and I mean, Eugene, I do find it disturbing that you said you had some people from this area, from the state of Connecticut, sharing that information about Sandy Hook being a hoax. I mean, that's got to make you feel a little low. I mean, it
was depressing. I'll tell you the truth. It was depressing. Like I've been literally depressed reading the comments because I don't know. The world just seems to be changing in so many ways. I don't get it. I feel like I don't fit in. But yeah, it was very depressing, and to have the debate then turns into, well, you're un-American because this is censorship. And I guess you could make that argument, but in my mind, it was a news organization applying standards to something. And saying, this isn't up to our standards and we're not going to air it. And I think, they have to respond to the community in some way. I think they also have an obligation to respond to their local viewers, and in this case, parents of Sandy Hook children. I think that I'll apply. That was ridiculed on our Facebook page by people saying that, well, it's just they're anti-guns, they don't want to talk about this, but they'll file a lawsuit and all that. But, I don't know. I think as media organizations, we could probably be doing a whole lot better if we got out of the partisan yelling and cared a little more about the communities and reacted to them, like you guys do.
Well, you guys are a perfect example.
We're doing it right. The HAN network's doing it right. Valley Indies doing it right, but we don't have 1 billion followers like.
Well, wait. I heard this rumor that you guys are funded by Mark Zuckerberg. Or...
Yeah. Here's where it gets like. I'm not going to be able to find the post now, but after there was one person in particular. He was a doomsday prepper from like Montana. A person who's supposedly off the grid and believes everything that Infowar publishes.
So he's off the grid, but he's religiously reading Infowar.
But he's on Facebook all the time. I'm like, all right, and then he was a human being, a kind of nice guy, but at the end he just started cursing left and right. Mm-hmm. And I know what it was. He just wanted me to ban him.
Right.
And I monitor our social media personally. It's me. And basically my rule is with trolls, if you get on, you're out of the area, you get in on a hot topic and you just immediately curse, I just ban you, because ain't nobody got time for that. You know, if you own a business and somebody rings your doorbell after they've lit a bag of poop on fire and runs away, you know, you don't say, you know, you can react to that. It's okay to react to that. So that's what I feel about trolls. So this person eventually cursed, and I banned him, and I know then he finally posted what he wanted to post, and he said, check out this Zuckerberg and left-wing funded online paper. He didn't want his readers to know that, so he banned me. Said I cussed. I used the abbreviation BS. That was all. Poor little, and of course, snowflake. I was called a snowflake, which I guess is slightly better than being called a cuck. But, I mean, the thing about that statement is the obvious lies in it. We're not funded by Zuckerberg. I wish we were. I could then, you know, maybe trade in my 2006 Vibe with 170,000 miles on it. But we're reader supported. We get all our money. You can look up our tax records online. Mm-hmm. You know, we're completely out in the open about how we're funded because we are funded by readers. So, and he did, you know, I did the thing. Whenever you ban somebody, they always come back with, "I've screenshot it all," as if they're going to turn it into the internet police. You know, they think that's a thing. But I actually took screenshots of this before I banned the guy because I knew he was going to say that.
Of course. And
I posted, here's what I had warned him and told him he's probably going to get banned, and then he did. But, you know, and I think that's part of the insanity we're dealing with here, that we're entertaining this stuff.
Right.
And that, you know, we shouldn't have to deal with this stuff.
And, you know, so often, you know, if you do engage with these people, like one-on-one, not even in a Facebook arena, say you start emailing back and forth, somebody calls you, they usually back down. I mean, some of the nastiness just kind of disappears. And you notice, like, this is a person. They feel this way very strongly for some reason. Especially on Facebook, people tend to become extremely nasty about their points of view in many cases.
But then they get back, when they're done emailing with you, they get back in the pack, and the pack mentality starts again. I'm going to throw a hypothetical at both of you that I've thought of throughout this thing. Had this been from the start packaged as Alex Jones from InfoWars and parents of Sandy Hook and some of the other people who were involved, retired Lieutenant Paul Vance, etc., allowed to respond to his theories, would that have been something that would have been received better, or did the mere presence of the denier overweigh, overweigh the news value of it?
Yeah. I don't think that would have made a difference. I know that there was one father, the father of Jesse Lee Lewis, actually, that spoke in that interview. And what he said was horrifying and heartbreaking. I don't think it would have made a difference, however, because, you know, there has been a lot that's happened to these families because of this hoax, you know, ridiculous hoax rumor. I mean, we even saw in Stratford, there was a man arrested at the Vicky Soto 5K because he ran at the family saying you're all lying and it's all a hoax. So no, I do not think that would have made a difference. I don't know if you agree, Eugene.
No, I agree 100%. I don't think it would have made a difference at all.
Now, here's the thing. Do we think Alex Jones actually believes any of this stuff? I'm not sure. I just think it's all entertainment for him, and unfortunately, all these people are listening to it and taking it as fact, researched fact.
I honestly don't know. I honestly hope not, and I honestly think there are people who know there is money to be made. We talked about marketing earlier. There is money to be made fanning flames and getting people out. We don't have impartial national television media anymore. I'm going to turn to the channel that tells me that I'm right all the time, and the guy who disagrees with me is wrong all the time and hates America and is not a human being and deserves to be hated. And that's where we've come to, and I think people see that there's money to be made that way, and until that goes away, and maybe my hope was we could expose Alex Jones a little bit through that interview, which wasn't going to happen in that venue, unfortunately. But until that stops, we're never going to come to consensus, and we're going to continue to exist in this volatile political environment we're in now.
Yeah, and I think if I could be wrong here, but I remember reading just recently that in Alex Jones' divorce case,
Yes.
he or his lawyer said this is a fictional character he plays. You know, like Morton Downey Jr. back in the day on Channel 9 in New York, or out of Secaucus, New Jersey, would play that same character. You know, and I find the guy sort of entertaining. I like when he takes off his shirt. You know, it's you know, as a fat guy, I do appreciate the fact that he is not ashamed to show off his body, and you know, it's funny when he yells. It's kind of like, you know, Hulk Hogan back in the day in the WWF classics. But there's a point where it's like, oh man, you can only sort of go into the sewer so deep. You know, and you guys had talked before about how when you get offline and talk to trolls, they seem more sensible. I'm not experiencing that at all. In fact, I want to invite you guys to one of my family get-togethers and talk to some of my relatives. The guy from my wedding party has become radicalized by watching various news programs. So I'm in a whole different... I'm surrounded, and none of it is civil, and none of it is sane, in my opinion.
Have you tried tearing off your shirt and yelling brother at him a lot?
There's a couple of court orders in place that prevent me from doing that. So, and I don't want to comment on my past.
Maybe next time the Valley Indy does its 24-hour fundraiser, you could do that for everyone.
No.
All right. Well, Eugene, now before we let you go, just want to ask, what's happening in the Valley right now? What stories are you guys following that people should check out?
All right, Kate, all I can do is read the agenda tonight. There's a special meeting of the Derby Housing Authority. Maybe somebody watching or listening knows what's going on, but they're scheduled to meet at 6:30. They're going to meet in an executive session to discuss personnel issues. Part of that is possible action on the employment status and contract of the executive director. And there's a Part D under personnel issues, possible or discussion of and possible action on response to CHSA redefault. Something's going on within the Derby Housing Authority. I've put out about 8 or 9 calls today, and I have no info, but that's the story we're trying to work on for Derby residents today.
I'll be following that because those are some big words on that agenda.
That's never good.
No.
It's never a good sign.
No. When executive session and personnel are on the agenda, that's generally not going to be a good night.
Usually a story there, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
Thumbs
Eugene,
up.
thank you so much, and really just appreciate you sharing your opinion with us and taking the time to talk.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I really
Thanks so
enjoyed
much.
it.
All right. Well, we're going to step out for a break, and we'll be back with more CT Pulse after this.
At In Sports Trumbull, the game is always on inside. Registration is now open for our fitness training programs for high school athletes. The In Sports Performance Center is offering blast speed classes, athletic functional movement assessments, and both men's and women's elite speed and strength training. Our premier programs help bring athletes to the next level. Call 203-268-1214 for more information. Like and follow us on Facebook.
I'm Tracy Masella, a licensed clinical social worker at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan. Join me each month as we talk with experts on the front lines of the treatment of mental health and addiction. Straight Talk with Tracy, a Silver Hill Hospital production, airs at 12 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month here on the HAN network.
You don't have to go far for authentic Neapolitan cuisine and renowned wood-fire pizza. Pizzeria Loretano of Bethel is a contemporary Italian bistro, specializing in authentic wood-fired brick oven pizza Napolitana. Pizzeria Loretano was named one of America's top 1,000 Italian restaurants in 2008 by Zagat, and recommended by Jane and Michael Stern on National Public Radio's Splendid Table. Located close to the Bethel Cinema, we focus on quality, and our food is always made to order. Join us for live jazz Sundays from 6 to 8. Find our schedule, menu, and more at pizzerialoretano.com, and like us on Facebook.
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
I can't believe it.
Well, Dad, you did it. You sold 160 cars. Ready to go back upstairs now?
I think it's time.
I wonder how the boys are making out in their new office.
Not what I had in mind, Kyle. What, Dad?
Maybe we should retire. Right now, lease a 2017 Rogue S for only $139 a month. Isn't it time you got Millerized?
Welcome back to this week's edition of CT Pulse on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Chaplensky, joined by John Kovach. And John, one story that we're following is from the Journal-Inquirer, actually. And on the closing day of this year's legislative session, Deputy House Speaker Jeffrey Berger, who's a Democrat from Waterbury, allegedly threw a stuffed rat at a journalist in response to an unflattering social media post. Now, we do have a photo from her tweet that she sent out. Now, as the House was debating a bill to prohibit the installation of certain solar facilities on farmlands, Christine Stewart from CTNewsJunkie.com snapped a photo of Representative Berger watching the HBO series Veep on his laptop. Well, Stewart said she was alerted. There's her photo that she took. It's actually now pinned at the top of her Twitter page right now at CT News Junkie. But Stewart said she was alerted to Berger's indifference to the debate by his audible reaction to the television show. Now, she did post that image to nearly 36,000 Twitter followers, and according to the Journal-Inquirer, toward the end of the night, Stewart went from the Capitol's press room to the floor of the House, where Berger, from his seat in the second row of the chamber, threw a stuffed rat in her direction. Now, she did actually confirm that this story was in fact the truth. She sent out a tweet yesterday just simply saying, yes, this did happen, and I want to move on and continue to do my job, the end. I mean, it's just, John, your reaction to this initial story when you read it?
It's reprehensible on so many levels. So what, we have a toy box under our desk?
Thank you. Why does he have a stuffed rat?
I'm lost at why we have the stuffed rat, that we're going to, rather than call, the person, they sent it to it. You can't, it's there, it's in the picture.
Right.
You shouldn't be doing that. The state's a mess. We don't have a budget. We're making contingency plans for not having a budget. People are losing jobs. Taxes are going up, and you're watching Veep during a debate.
Right.
And you get called out for it, and you then make the situation better by throwing a stuffed rat at the reporter who got a picture of it? I'm having trouble following the logic chart on this.
Right. So he threw it in her direction. The toy landed near her feet. Now, the Journal-Inquirer says that House Speaker Joe Arasimowicz apologized to Stewart the day after the incident. Berger, however, released a statement Monday after he refused to speak with the Journal-Inquirer reporter. This was his statement. He said, "I can only chalk up this lack of judgment to being overtired from long session nights and frustrated with what was happening with legislation." He said, "This is no excuse, and I have a full respect for reporters doing their job." Now, I haven't looked today, but he did not he did not say he was sorry to the reporter.
I think he needs.
And I think he needs to.
I think that's an insult to everybody in the business. What was done, you got caught. Yes, you got bored. Yes, and everybody find somebody at their job who hasn't snuck a peek at whatever social media or what have you.
Guilty.
Okay? We understand. People, you're humans, but you're also in chambers during a debate with press there at a time when this state is facing grave crises on several levels. It's not a great visual right now.
I just also want to talk about the connotations of a rat. I mean, that is what disturbs me as well about this. I mean, when you talk about a rat, you talk about someone who rats on you. You know, you're kind of getting into that like mentality. What? And also, I mean, a rat just being a disgusting creature that carries disease. I mean, all of those things about it are offensive. And did he have this stuffed rat for just such an occasion?
It's entirely possible, but keep in mind there was a time years ago when somebody in the Capitol press corps might have seen something like that, or let's take it back to that time. Hypothetically, a legislator doing a crossword during a debate,
or playing
reading,
solitaire,
something like that, and they might just they saw it, but they weren't going to expose it to anybody. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen in this political climate. It's just the way it is.
Right. A disturbing story. Having it seen if Representative Berger has apologized to Christine Stewart. It kind of blew my mind when I read that story.
Yeah, it kind of jumped off the page at me.
Because we've talked about in the past, J.R. Romano, who is the Connecticut GOP chair, last year he got a lot of heat because he wanted to ban a Hearst reporter from their caucus. Now, that didn't end up happening, but he released a big statement on it, and he got a lot of heat. So kind of this feeling towards, journalists and reporters that we've seen around the country, and, much less serious scale here in Connecticut, but it does
to
come
an
up.
extent,
Right.
and I think so. Let's get back to the segment we just finished
Right.
with Eugene Driscoll. You can find your far right or far left source of information, because I'm not going to call it news, that's going to tell you that you're right, and anybody that varies from that is the evil mainstream media, and they deserve scorn, and they're not people. And that's unfortunately where we are right now.
Yeah. Everyone's just trying to do their jobs. That's just
Exactly.
that. Yeah. All right. Well, John, one other thing we should talk about is Governor Dannel Malloy informed members of the General Assembly that in the absence of an Appropriations Act adopted by the General Assembly prior to the start of the July 1st fiscal year, his administration is developing a plan for managing state government to maintain essential services and satisfy obligations. Now, it's a plan based on 5 principles. This is all according to Governor Malloy. We should not increase our projected deficit. We should allocate funding to first support the most essential health, safety, and human services for our most vulnerable residents. We should consider the fiscal capacity of outside organizations, including cities and towns. We should comply with various court orders, stipulations, and mandates. And we should honor our tentative collective bargaining agreements while such agreements are under consideration by state employees and the Connecticut General Assembly.
There's 2 points in those that I want to address. Number 1, we should not increase our projected deficit. Rather, we should apportion funds according to a plan that is in balance for the entire fiscal year. Aren't we a bit late in making that number 1 on the list? This is why we're where we are. And number 5, and one of the main points of contention right now in the legislature is there are legislators who want votes on these contracts. And Connecticut, at the moment, there aren't such votes. And I think that's something that needs to be resolved. And I think elected representatives are right in seeking to know what's in these negotiated settlements and have the right to ratify them or not. You see that all the time at the municipal level. The town council ratifies the new contract with Public Works or the police department or what have you.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Well, I know that's something we're going to continue following, John, but I so appreciate you joining me today on CT Pulse.
No problem.
All right. You've got to have you back. I get lonely.
I'll come back.
All
Just
right.
say when.
All right.
Of course, Wednesday makes it fun.
I know. Wednesday is our deadline day, so it's a little tough for John. But we are going to take a break. When we come back, Doug Smith joins us for some drawing conclusions after this.
Did you know heart attacks and strokes are the leading cause of death in America? Protect the health of you and your loved ones. Talk to a doctor about heart disease. Hi, I'm Dr. David Pazer with ProHealth Physicians, encouraging you to stay informed about health matters that affect you.
ProHealth Physicians is on the pulse of social media to share information about health and nutrition with the community. Get up-to-the-minute alerts, including ProHealth Physicians news and upcoming events. Connecticut's leading group of primary care doctors is just a click away.
Part of banking well is doing good. That's why, with the support of local community partners, Bankwell has launched the Bankwell Pet Adoption Project to boost awareness about the hundreds of animals in local shelters that need a home. And when you donate to the cause using the Bankwell self-service coin machines, we'll match your donation. For details, visit mybankwell.com/pleaseadoptme. Bank smart, bank local, bank well.
Want a new experience in car buying? No aggravation, no confrontation, just answers to all your questions. Scap Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Car buying the way you want it to be. With one of the largest selections of new 2- and 4-door Jeep Wranglers available, we are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Located in Fairfield, Connecticut, we're easy to get to. Just 2.5 miles off the Merritt Parkway, exit 44 via Route 58 South. Save thousands right now during the Drive and Discover event. Now through June 30th.
The new fishing season is fast approaching, so it's time to head over to the dock shop and get your gear in order. We're now offering bait in both Darien and our Westport location. The dock shop can service and repair your rods and reels, spool up new line, and fill any empty space you might have in your tackle box. Whether you're a fisherman, boater, or beach bum, the dock shop is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
If you're watching this broadcast, you're not alone. The HAN network is available for 200,000 Connecticut cable customers on the Frontier network, and we've also reached more than 2 million viewers on our free live streaming sports, news, and entertainment broadcasts. To reach our rapidly growing audience, contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
All right, it's time for some drawing conclusions. And as you can see, Doug Smith using his body to show off the Drawing Conclusions logo.
Right. Kat
Very nice there. You had a fun day at the beach.
But yeah.
All right, Doug. Well, let's take a look at your cartoons this week. What do we have up first? Tell us about this next one. Now, this is about litter. Wait, tell us about this.
Oh, the Pints in Politics. That's where the citizens of Shelton can join the state reps Jason Perillo, Ben McGordy, and State Senator Kevin Kelly. They discuss the recent legislative session and air their concerns. Takes place Monday, July 17th at Wellington's in Shelton. So I was just having some fun with the words there, just leaders and legislator as opposed to pints and politics.
Pints and politics. All right, I
but
like
I figured
it.
alcohol and politics, so a winning combination. You know.
Yeah. Now let's take a look at this next one. This is actually a nice cartoon congratulating Trumbull High School softball team.
Yeah, the Trumbull High double L, class double L softball, they won the state championships. And, you know, with our small town local newspapers, sports is a really big part of that for the readers. So I thought rather than make fun of like town hall or politics, just do something
Which
nice.
you love to do as
exactly.
well.
But
it's nice to do a positive
give the kids their
one.
due, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Now up next, boy, I think we can all relate to this next one.
Self-explanatory.
High school graduation, college graduation, real world.
I fondly remember college. You know, I didn't think about mortgages, payments, commuting. All I had to do was just the assignments, and I couldn't even do that right. So,
though I have to say, I still have nightmares about missing class.
Oh my God!
And do you still have that?
I do constantly.
What is that?
Missing an exam.
Mike Seppi, our director. I just had it the other night that I forgot to attend a class for the whole semester. All right. Switching gears, let's talk about this next one. The kayak and paddleboard flotilla takes place this Saturday at Weed Beach and Cove Island.
Oh, that's the Sound Waters. It raises money and awareness for Long Island Sound. Great cause, a lot of fun, good way to get exercise.
Yeah.
Again, I'm thinking back to college when all we did was just the Susquehanna River float where everyone got drunk in inner tubes and they had to like pick up the bodies at the end in a truck. You know?
Wait, is this the land shark though? Is this the famous land shark going after that guy?
Yep.
I like that. All right, up next, someone really got into the spirit of Stratford Light the Way and painted over the original lighthouse. That would be pretty neat, actually.
It would. It's a testament to Stratford that no one's ever done graffiti on that lighthouse.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. All right, up next, I think this is my favorite one of the week. Bears are now breaking into Weston Homes.
Right, on Treadwell Lane last week, I guess a bear actually tore through the porch screen, then pried open a window. He got out before anyone saw him and no one was hurt, fortunately. Had a little fun with the headline there.
Yeah, but I mean, he broke in and then got out, too. That was like the most impressive to me. He was like a master burglar.
I guess after this, bears will start embezzling funds and offshore accounts and things.
Well, this is a good area, I guess, to start robbing, right? All right, well, that was our last one of the week. But Doug, as always, so fun.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap things up here on CT Pulse. Of course, 2 o'clock Nutmeg Sports is coming up. And if you missed any of CT Pulse, you can watch it on demand at han.network. And we'll see you next week.